Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'll be covering the weather for February 18th of 2024, and currently we have a moderate threat for flash flooding, and this is going to be the main thing that we're going to be going over in today's forecast. The moderate threat is extending anywhere from Santa Barbara up to the Monterey region of California along the coast. When you take into account the terrain, this may potentially be a dangerous situation, as a lot of burn scars across California. You know that California has a lot of wildfires that causes rainwater to have a hard time seeping into the soil, and that kind of lets it pool on top, but also allows it to run off much more easier. And because of how flat the coastline is and the mountains further towards the west, all that rain will slowly ride down the mountains closer to a lot of the cities along the coastline there. So it may potentially be a dangerous situation, as a lot of rainwater may slide down and wash out infrastructure and flood roads. For tomorrow, we also do have another moderate risk for flash flooding, but it is in a much more confined area, but I will likely still make a forecast for this tomorrow. However, for our day 3 to day 5 outlook, we are going to continue to see the risk for flash flooding and excessive rainfall for day 3 and day 4, and then we are expected to see at least a marginal risk for flash flooding for a lot of the Ohio River Valley just to the north of Tennessee. And then we can also take a look at what we are expected to see as far as winter weather for today. I'm not really going to be going over this in today's forecast, but we do have the potential for some heavy snowfall in some of the higher elevations of California, and then potentially some heavy lake effect snow around the Buffalo region or just to the north of Buffalo there. And then for our day 2 to day 3 outlook, we are going to continue to see very heavy snowfall in a lot of those higher elevations in California. Taking a look at the SPC outlooks and the risk for severe thunderstorms, I'm not really going to be going over this in today's forecast either. However, we do have a marginal threat for southern Florida into the Florida Keys. Risks for today do include a 2% tornado risk as well as a 5% damaging wind risk, so we may be able to see at least some possibility for an isolated brief or weak tornado, as well as some isolated damaging wind gusts, which shouldn't be too terrible. But again, I'm not really going to be going over this in today's forecast. For tomorrow, which I'll likely make a video about this, we do have a slight risk for central northern California there, just to the west of the San Francisco Bay. Threats for tomorrow do include a 5% tornado risk, so we may be able to see the possibility of a weak tornado or two for tomorrow across central California, and then also the possibility of some isolated damaging wind gusts with a 5% damaging wind risk, and then also a 5% hail risk, so we may be able to see the possibility of some isolated large hail. Taking a look at our weather models, starting off with our 500 millibars like we usually do, let's take a look at the upper air maps in the trough that is going to be leading to the risk for potentially significant flash flooding across coastal regions of California. We are seeing a trough that is currently advecting out of the Pacific here, and we are expected to see a cold front attached to this, and the setup of generally how the cold front impacts is going to be a huge playing factor in the risk for flash flooding, which I will show you on our composite reflectivity models a little bit clearer. Taking a look at our composite reflectivity, so we can get a general idea of how that cold front is expected to impact and how that's going to affect the risk for flash flooding across this region, as well as when and where you should be able to expect rainfall. Keep in mind that I am recording this in Eastern Standard Time, so times are expected to be a little bit different and probably significantly earlier by a couple hours than what is currently showing up at the top of the screen with the time here. But I'll do the best I can with the different time zones. We are expected to see a lot of the rainfall start along the California coast. Very widespread, very heavy rainfall along the California coast, as that cold front impacts parallel to the coastline. Which is going to kind of act as a train. However, due to the eastward movement of our trough, that is going to eventually move out of the area and move further inland. However, that's not really going to be the case for further down south, because we are expected to see that cold front impact a little bit more perpendicular to the coastline, and that is going to allow the trough in the cold front to kind of just pour into the coastal regions for significantly longer, and much more intensely. So that's general reason why we are expected to see a better risk for flash flooding further down south, is because it is expected to impact more perpendicular further down south. But our rainfall is expected to start around 3 p.m. Around the afternoon. Shouldn't be too late in the afternoon, and the majority of our rainfall across a lot of the coast of California, so that the San Francisco Bay Area, the San Jose area, you should see rainfall clear out around 6 a.m. or the very early morning of tomorrow. However, rainfall is expected to continue into tomorrow for a lot of the southern regions of California, where we are expected to see that risk for moderate risk for heavy rainfall and flash flooding. Taking a look at our total precipitation accumulation, how much rainfall we are actually expected to see across this region, mainly focusing on the moderate threat. Again, we are expected to see an insane amount of rainfall, and the terrain really plays a huge role in the significance of this flash flooding event. We are expected to see potentially anywhere from 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, maybe an isolated 4 inches somewhere in here for a lot of the region. That is expected to accumulate sometime around 3 a.m. A total of 3 to 4 inches around 3 a.m. So that may even be higher by the time this storm actually moves out of the region, because if you remember, models are still indicating at the very end of the model run, storms are still ongoing for this region. So rainfall totals in reality may actually be a little bit higher than what we are seeing as of right now when the cold front actually moves out of the region. However, for the rest of the region, in the rest of the slight risk area and the marginal threat area, we are expected to see rainfall totals that may range anywhere from 1 inch to maybe 1.5 inches to potentially 2 inches across a lot of this region. So again, that is expected to pull in low-lying areas, and then also the burn scars are really not going to allow it to really seep into the ground, so it's just kind of going to sit on top of the soil. And then again, the terrain is really going to play a huge factor, because we may be able to see the possibility of some mudslides with this, and it again is going to run off into much lower terrain and potentially wash out infrastructure. Before I end the video, I do want to talk about the GoFundMe that we do have for Project Gladiator real quick. Project Gladiator is for the purpose of designing and developing an insanely powerful storm-chasing vehicle, which will be an absolute beast and should be able to collect data from some of the strongest tornadoes. We're talking EF5 or potentially greater, some of the most insane tornadoes out there. And this will really help with meteorological breakthroughs, because current tornado intercept vehicles cannot go into those extremely strong tornadoes. So unlocking the mysteries of what makes tornadoes so violent in their most violent form should definitely help with a lot of meteorological breakthroughs. So if you do want to donate to the cause, the link is in the description. But I do want to thank who has already donated, which is mainly me for the most part, but also my sister twice, and then also my Aunt Dawn. So I want to thank everyone who's already donated so far. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator, and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. If you live in any of the areas I covered for today, please stay weather alert for the time being. If you notice anything might have been wrong with this forecast, or you'd like to make a suggestion or ask a question, please leave a comment. I do read them. 2 other channels I highly suggest you check out are One Nation Weather and Weather Watcher. Weather Watcher does make forecast videos for Europe if you are interested in those. And then also, I do want to thank Jackson WX, our friend from Nebraska, for tuning in and giving us live observations from Nebraska. And hopefully I'll be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.